2x2, 7 rows deep, and rolling up to the start-finish line. Looks like Asher going a little bit off track as the inside as they can. Saber making an amazing dive into turn 1, and electroshocks off. Eggful gets the move, but MNU trying to take a move.
Big contact from 5 different punches.
Big incident with Snowdog, our leader.
As we head into town row, it's a big clash. It's a big clash between the two title contenders.
Good day, everyone. Happy New Year. Today is 2026, and we are here for our first official broadcasted race here in the Simufur GT3 series, the 8th running of this well-known series from our people over at Simufur, and we are here at Silverstone. I am Suzuka Shark, and alongside me is Kady.
Hey, how are ya?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing pretty alright. I mean, it was a pretty decent weekend. We had a race on Friday actually. This was not broadcasted, but we had the Simufur What If 1 series, basically Formula 3000 cars on a set of courses in Formula 1 tracks that either did not make it or did not stay long enough. But anyways, enough of that. Today is Sunday, and we are racing here at Silverstone for this for the first race of this season.
Yeah, it's 10 top times here. We're done with those open wheelers for now. We'll be back on it on Friday. So this is not technically the first Simufur outing of the year, but it is the first one that we will all bear witness to here in the commentary booth. We're here on a pretty uncharacteristically sunny day in Silverstone, it's looking like so far. I haven't really checked the weather for the rest of this series. I don't know when or if the rain rounds are coming up, but this certainly isn't going to be one of them. It's clear skies. We have all of the cars running around on this green practice track here, just trying to get those last few moments of practice in before qualifying at the top of the hour. It's a pretty big field today. We've got an even 30 cars on the grid today, actually. 3-0, which is just a nice round. Now, excuse me, somebody just joined, so now it's 31. I was going to say, oh, what a nice round number. But no, here we are. We have an absolutely packed AM field. I'm really, really excited about how AM is going to be going on this one, because there's so many cars, and a lot of them, we've seen it before. That field gets really, really tight on pace. So that's where my eye is going to be at this race, at least.
Yeah, I'd say my eyes too are in the AM class field, because there's a lot. Not only because there's a lot of them, but there's a line of new people here in Simufur. People who have just joined us in the Discord server, discord.gg/Simufur, and yeah. It would be interesting to see how these newcomers perform here on the Simufur grid as we look over to Oliver Renfield, who I believe is one of the newcomers here in that Works Mustang livery.
Looks really good still. Like, yeah, honestly, I don't fault anybody who doesn't put a livery on their Ford Mustang, even though this one also looks fantastic from Sauce Dragon here. We're doing a little bit of Code 50 practice now. We're on the sort of back end through the Mumble server that we run our Full Course Yellow audio through. We're trying out a computerized voice for it so that we can give our race control folks a bit of a break and not have them have to make the call themselves. And I have to say, from my ear, it sounds really, it sounds professional. It reminds me a lot of the one in the the World Endurance Championship in a good way. Just makes things feel a lot more polished in those little ways. Obviously, you can't hear it on the broadcast, but I can tell you it sounds good.
Yeah, personally, I would miss Eduardo Freitas doing all the race control, but he's still here.
Oh, could you
and there.
imagine?
Yeah. Anyways, as the grid goes green again, we are seeing some time pop up. These are still, I believe it's only Sauce Dragon that set a No, it's Auras and Sauce Dragon who have set representative time so far. But keep in mind, these are practice times, so these will not determine how the race goes. But it's very interesting to see Auras Volpes. Now, may I remind you guys that I think he finished third in that 6-hour charity race on his own, so a lot of track time in that Lamborghini. So he knows all the ins and outs of this car and will be trying to make the most out of this in the Silver Class Championship battle.
Yeah, only about 3/10 off from Sash, despite being in silver, and Sash, of course, being one of our gold drivers. So definitely more than holding their own in this one so far. And I have to say, I feel like the Lamborghini is probably going to end up being a pretty good choice for this track in particular. I feel like it tends to be pretty stable in the higher speed corners, of which Silverstone has quite a few, as well as also being, at least halfway decent down the straights in most cases. I've been watching Porsche 992s get gapped pretty much the entire time that we've been running this practice session, just sort of peeking in on the session right before this one, and it's looking like the stronger cars are actually going to be. The Nissan GTR is looking pretty good. I think we have at least a couple of drivers in that one, and the Lamborghinis as well, I think, should be a decent pick. But as always, here in Simufur, we have really, really good car variety for this season. People are in all sorts of different things, and I'm actually only seeing one Ferrari. I assume that's a 296, but that's really surprising to me. I feel like that's usually a much more frequent pick.
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't normally race the Ferrari, but recently I've had a bit of a thing with the Lamborghini. Although I have officially retired myself when it comes to racing on ACC, so that's why I'm here. As we look at one of the Lexus, a pretty interesting pick here. I've heard that this car is very powerful. It's got a lot of straight line speed and pretty decent at the corners, so it will be interesting to see the likes of what Nicholas Zahn can do in that car.
Yeah, you can see it following the Porsche there of Vossi really, really closely through basically the entirety of Maggots and Beckett's there, which is pretty impressive considering that the Porsche tends to be, gets a good drive off that line, but you can see just the speed difference there, and a lot of that might have been the draft a little bit too, as they're already looking like they're racing as we're going all the way side by side through snow into the Vale chicane. I am having a blast watching this. We are still side by side, little bit of a bump between them. That's going to be Nicholas Zahn off into the grass, and Vaz is going to get back ahead. So we're definitely practicing getting our elbows out a little bit already. Hopefully the fights that we see on track don't always end like that. But these four cars are going to keep following each other around here as we are ticking down the final minute of practice.
I mean, come on, guys. It's still pre-practice. Relax. Save that RG party for the race as we look over to Mara, who was coming into Brooklands, I believe. That is indeed Brooklands, the McLaren in the AMP class. Now, admittedly, I remember they initially picked the Ferrari, but due to how low of a pick of it, I think they decided on the McLaren as their final choice of car as it roars down into Woodcote and makes it another lap time.
3 McLarens, actually, which is also a lot less than I was expecting. I know that tends to be, and I mean, this is ACC. There's definitely a pecking order when it comes to the cars. I'm almost certain that we are still using the low fuel motorsport balance and performance adjustments for this series, just to start to bring those cars as close together as we can, but definitely you still have the ones who win and the ones who lose, and I feel like the McLaren generally tends to be a really, really good pick. But actually, you know what we have a lot of is Aston Martins. It's looking like we have 1, 2, 3. Is that really the most? Well, Ford Mustangs is the most, actually. We have 4 of those on the grid. So the car variety, again, looking very, very good.
Yeah, I am seeing, yeah, you are right. I think that is 3 Aston Martins and 4 Mustangs. So it looks like the Fords are the popular pick. No, actually, it's the Porsches that are the most popular pick with 5 Porsches. I believe all of them are. No, we have 2 in the. 2. Yeah, that's 2 in the gold. 2 in the gold class, and 1 in the silver, and 3 AM. So that's plenty of Porsches to go around on the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Only 2 pros on the grid, of course, for this series, just depending on the way that the signups went. So actually could be a really, really good opportunity for our golds and maybe even our silvers to start fighting for those sort of front spots on the grid. Should be a really, really good opportunity for them to do that as we are pulling into the pit lane and obliterating well, see, after that, now you took out the sign that said that it's a right-hand corner. How are people going to know that it's a right-hand corner? The sign's not there. They're going to think, they're going to try to go left. They're going to, you know, not everybody knows that cops goes right. So you gotta have the sign there to remind you.
Yeah, remove that sign and everyone's going straight into the barriers.
Yeah, straight on.
Anyways, that will be the end of our practice session. Oh, there goes Olson. I think they got confused by the
Look at that, they got
bollards.
confused already.
Yep. Yeah, definitely got confused by the broken bollards. But qualifying is now underway, and I believe that it's obviously a split qualifying, but I think it's going to be silver class, AM class, and national class. Now, I will provide you context on our driver classes. For those new to Simufur, we separate the drivers into different skill levels. So we have national class, which are the newbies, the very new people to Simufur, and then we have AM class, those are the amateur class, and silver is right in between. Gold class, a little above silver, and pro class is the very top of the field. That's how I can describe it the best.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And very important to keep in mind as well, AMs and Nats are on the grid together right now qualifying. Just to be clear,
Silver's included.
Nats can be any pace. They're there while we figure out exactly where they should be in the picking order based on their race pace. So they're not going to score any points today, which we have had Nats actually win races in the past, and unfortunately have absolutely nothing to show for it. But yeah, they can be at any pace possible. They could be sorted into any category. We just have to figure out where exactly they are. So we will keep an eye on them. Silverstone here got 5.9 kilometers of track that we are working around right now, 3.7 miles and 18 turns. And it is definitely the times that we are going to be looking for from the top of the field are going to be down below the 2 minutes, sort of into the 59s, maybe even into the 58s. You can see how people get on around this track, but we are about to get going on our first qualifying lap.
And here is Blade Wolf Kagekiyo, a seasoned veteran here in Simufur, all ready to start off the season by setting the first laps here in Silverstone as he goes past Woodcut. Long acceleration, dab on the brakes, coming into cops, a quick right-hander. Try not to break the track limits there, but you want to go as wide as you can to get as much speed coming into the next series of corners, which is Maggots and Beckett's. It's a hard left, right. This is a very iconic set of corners here in Silverstone, and you really want a good exit here because you'll need it here to power down the Hanger Straight, which is, I believe, that's almost the longest straight here in Silverstone, if not Wellington, as it will be long, hard on the brakes as he heads into Stowe Corner there. Really, really long corner as you power down once more. Do not break track limits there, easy to do so as he heads into Vale and then into Club. Now, tight left, tight right, power down once more as Blade Wolf, ooh, a little bit squirrely there as he heads down the Hamilton straight, recently named after the Ferrari driver Lewis Hamilton. And then you dab on the brakes, coming to Abbey, clip the curve a bit there, don't go too wide into the grass, into farm curve, and then it's hard braking into Village corner, very tight right-hander corner, followed by another tight left-hander called the Loop, and then power down once more as Blade Wolf goes flat out through Aintree and into Wellington Straight. Now that will be the final section, but there will be 2 corners that can make or break your lap times here as he breaks into Brooklyn's really long left-hander. You really got to get the car stable there as you head into Lovefield. Really tight, much tighter than Brooklyn's, and you want to be really patient, put the throttle down, and just go all the way, going past Woodcut, and that is your lap around Silverstone.
Yeah, important to note, if you are an F1 fan, we already have our first 59. That is quite impressive there from Blade Wolf. That was towards the top of what we were seeing in practice, but of course, practice is practice, and this is qualifying. You've got all the fuel taken out, you've got fresh tires, and you are pushing the car to the absolute limits, or past the limits, if you're George Cerami there, the Garage 42 Porsche 992, taking a trip off into the grass, and there is a huge gaggle of cars behind him trying to get around, and George is going to have to be really careful here to make sure that they don't impede anybody. I think they probably already have, though. That's Adam Norland going off in the 21 Autosports NSX there. Yeah, that ended up being a really, really messy bit of track there. There are a lot of cars out on the circuit right now, at least 20, so it's getting crowded out there.
As Yuka Shinobu would put it, it's traffic paradise out here. You really have to have clean air in order to... Oh, there goes Jesperson Lee going wide. Probably got distracted by the car ahead, but parks it nicely. As we look over to JPEG Fox, hopefully he's kept it clean throughout this lap. I think he's got a lot of free air around him, so he's got the luxury of setting a lap time, unlike the plenty others we've seen earlier.
Yeah, I get trying to get out with your peers and seeing if you can pick up any kind of a tow. 3 decently long straights on this track. This one isn't technically named, but it is quite a long straight as well, heading into Cops Corner here. But I feel like, just for my money, I would rather just be like JPEG here, get into my own air, especially with the number of cars on track right now, and just try to set the best times that you can without any distractions. That tends to work the best for me. I'm not exactly 100% sure how much the draft is going to be worth around a lap around here. If I had to guess, I would probably say somewhere in the 3 to 4 tenths range, which can be quite significant when it comes to qualifying. As we have Jeremy Dalton here in the McDonald's sponsored Ford Mustang here, the Oreo sponsored Ford Mustang. I actually kind of love that, if I'm being honest. Great,
That's one delicious Mustang.
For sure. Yeah.
The traffic
so
paradise still going
AMs
on.
have what, they should have 3 more minutes here to set times. So again, you only have 10 minutes. It's not that long, especially on a long lap here at Silverstone. You might have 2 or 3 good laps in you if you don't pull it off to the side of the road like Zatket did there.
Yeah, and if you haven't set a lap yet, that is 3 minutes remaining to set a lap, so it's going to be absolutely critical for these drivers to get a lap in. Just make sure they don't get hampered by all the traffic, as we saw with JPEG Fox, who is in good position right now. They're actually 4th in the AM class, I believe, with Cerami recently taking the pole position.
Yeah, 59.5. That's a really, really good time as well. I'm starting to wonder if our pros are going to be able to get into the 57s today. I have to imagine with the fuel taken out of the car, with the times that we're seeing here, it's looking really, really good. So Blade Wolf here in the Aston Martin, looking really good in Sector 1 right now. Is got at least 4 tenths on that pole time in Sector 1, kind of where you would perhaps expect this Aston Martin machinery to be very strong, to pretty long straights. It's got a pretty decent amount of straight line speed. But then it's looking like Flynn is able to get the time back in the other sectors as well. So we're seeing the different car dynamics come into play here, and that is going to be a pole position with a 59.2 for Blade Wolf. RS Volpez not far behind, though, only a 10th and a half, and is looking good on this lap as well.
Yeah, Blade Wolf and RS are going to be an interesting pair once again, I reckon. These two have been at each other in the silver class, but at the same time keeping it really respectful. That's what I really love about the silver drivers. They're very chill in general. I would know, because I used to be part of the silver class, and yeah, those were memorable experiences racing with the others when they were in silver.
Yeah, I remember, for me at least, sort of one of the first series that I did here at Simufur was Friday Night Lights. I ended up actually taking the Silver Championship for that series. The only bit of hardware that I still have here at Simufur. I've never been able to reclaim that glory. It's all been downhill from here. Yeah, no, it's a really fantastic class. Just lots of folks who are really great. That's going to be it for RS. They are not going to be able to get around again. So that 59.4 is going to stand. A bit of a shame, honestly, given that they were up at least a couple of tenths, it looked like, on their lap in the first couple of seconds. But we still have one more contender for the silver pole, potentially in contention here. This is Elias Flynn.
Never mind.
Looking. What do you mean, never mind?
Did they go past track limits? I don't know. Oh,
it still looks like a valid lap to me. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Elias Flynn powering down in that big Bentley. I mean, yeah, this is his last lap. I mean, it's gotta count as he heads into Brooklands and into Lovefield.
That definitely would have been over.
Yeah, that might have been over. And according to my radar, it looks like it's over for Flynn. So that silver class is locked in. That is Blade Wolf Kageki on pole, RS Volpez in P2, and Flynn in P3. Meanwhile, in the AM class, it looks like we have Luis Gordon from the new team here, Racing Team Echo, setting the AM class pole position here by quite a margin, and they're still going at it.
Yeah, they're still going. That's about half a second actually on this lap right now, so that could put them into the mix here in silver potentially, which is quite exciting. But also we're gonna have to be mindful of the pros and golds who are getting onto track now as well. Everybody out of the pits now, just trying to warm up those tires as best as they can, and they're going to have to watch out for the in-lap traffic. But here's Luis Gordon coming around across the line, and that is going to be up into P3 for her. Beats both Sadcat and Flynn to that spot, and only still under 0.2 of a second away from the silver pole. So really impressive performance there.
Yep, as we see their teammate Callum Mooney, last season's silver class champion under Blue Shark E-Racing, heading into a new era here with Racing Team Echo. And at the moment, I'm looking at my times right now. I don't see their radar, but oh yeah, keep in mind they have never mind. They have recently been promoted to the gold class ever since. So here is Callum Mooney setting a lap here in Silverstone. This is representative of the Golden Pro, so this better be good as he breaks into cops once more, putting the power down, and just be careful not to break track limits. That is as wide as you can get there, I reckon, and that as much track as you can use as he dives into Maggots, into Beckett's. It's a really technical series of corners here, but he's got it pretty nicely. No mistakes whatsoever from what I am seeing as he heads into the hangar straight. Now this is another long section. I feel like the BMWs are pretty great at the straight line speed with that V8 engine as he brakes hard into Stoke Corner. Really gotta trail brake this because that will get you as much lap time as you want. Powering down into Vale, into Club, It's going to be really tight around here. That's where the precision is absolutely necessary, because you want to be navigating for a good exit as you roar into the Hamilton straight. Don't clip the sausage curve on that king, or that's your lap time gone. Dabbing the brakes into Abby. Oh, a little bit wide on the entry, but Mooney still has it going on. Hard braking into Village. Yep, he is. I think he's gone a little bit wide once more. That's not going to be the best lap from Mooney. Powering down into Wellington straight, recovering what he can in terms of his lap time, but I believe that Mooney will improve once more coming into their next laps, because this is just a warm-up just to get a lap on the board, because that's absolutely necessary heading into Brooklands, into Luffield, and that will be it for Caleb Mooney. One more lap around Silverstone.
Yeah, you can just really see the difference there, the way that Cowlin is able to just throw the BMW around a little bit more than we were seeing from the others. And even with that lap that was a little bit off, that was slow enough to put them up into P5, that is a 59.5, we'll absolutely be seeing some improvement. And Sauce Dragon also starting to put those purple sectors on. Now we're really starting to see the pace with these. You can see the Mustang looking quite compliant over a lot of these curves here around Maggots and Beckett's. And then, ooh, bit of a wiggle there as we were getting to that kink before the start of the hanger straight, but ended up collecting the car okay. There's another car right behind. I'm not sure 100% who that is. Just trying to pick up the toe there from Sosh. It looks like one of the Lexuses there that's trying to do that. And,
according to my radar, that is the 286 of Zezors of Cabal Sim Sports.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, so they'll definitely be looking for one of the top spots, which right now is being held by Christian Klippert in the Mercedes AMG. That is a 59 flat. We're not quite in the 58s yet, but I have to imagine that we'll get there, because everybody pretty much is on an improvement.
Ooh, I think that was Sasha a little bit too wide there, but I think Sasha still held it. But unfortunately, that will be a hit on their lap time as they give way to Zedvers, for sure.
Yeah, here comes Christian around onto the Hamilton straight now, and is actually quite close behind this Lexus here, so definitely will be picking up some of that draft. It may help them improve on this particular lap time, but definitely not in this section, considering that you definitely need to make sure that you are braking as hard and as late as you can, which is much more difficult to do when you have to worry about not hitting a car in front of you, especially if that car is not exactly on a valid lap. I have to imagine that they're going to have to give way at some point. One of them is, I think they're both on valid laps, so I don't think that technically the Lexus right now has to do anything. But yeah, so Christian's just going to bail out of that lap and is just going to try to get away and make sure that they can get the best times that they can. But yeah, both of them on a valid lap there. According to our blue flag rules here at Simufur, you are not in that particular circumstance required to give way to the car behind you, although in quite a few cases it's probably a pretty decent idea anyway.
Yeah, 3 minutes on the clock remaining, and so far it's Luis Adeline in that Nissan GTR setting pole position overall. She is... No, wait, Mark, never mind. That is Daniel Taverner, also part of Racing Team Echo, stealing pole position from their teammate.
From their teammates, that is definitely, we've got a little bit of an inter-team war here going on. Blade Wolf, by the way, who was in pole position before the pros took the field, down into P7 now, and them and Araz are being split by one of our gold drivers at the moment. Quite a few drivers who are still kind of down in that silver AM mix, but definitely the classes are getting a little bit more separated now as we continue towards the final few minutes of this session. Anybody crossing the line now is probably going to get this lap and then one more most likely, considering that as long as you cross the line before the timer hits 0, you are able to complete whatever lap you are on. So all the drivers are going to be trying to cross the line rather, right at that last second, as close as they can get to the timer hitting 0, just so that they can get the best track conditions. Although it is looking like the track is pretty much in an optimal state at this point. A lot of rubber having been laid down by all the cars that came before.
And may I add that it's a Racing Team Echo 1-2-3, an absolutely dominating performance so far on their first race, on their first official race here in Simufur. We have Daniel Taverner and Luis Adeline with a very close margin, keep in mind. According to my statistics, that is Adeline's only 300ths down, so there's still a lot of time to be gained for that GTR.
Yeah, and less than a tenth between them, 300ths actually, if we want to be exact about it. So the margins are getting very, very thin around here between all of these cars in purple and yellow. That is going to be a new benchmark, though, from Daniel Taverner with a 58.4. Just a little bit of an improvement, not much, just a few hundredths on it. But that might just be enough to make sure that they can pull away as much as they can from the rest of their teammates behind.
So yeah, Taverner just bringing on the margins, making it a little bit harder for Adeline to try and get pole position off them. But it's still 900. It's still less than a 10. I believe there's still lap times to be found around here in Silverstone as we approach 30 seconds. So these are supposed to be the last lap times here that will be defining who gets on pole position for both the gold class and the pro class.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be getting around for one more. I was seeing that Daniel was up like 3/10 on that lap, getting very, very close to flirting with the 57s, but looked like a bit of a mistake maybe through the Vale complex heading onto the Hamilton Straight. So it ended up they ended up losing a little bit of time because of that, but they've kind of gotten most of it back. They're up to that sort of 3/10 already, and Luis behind is also doing pretty much the same thing, although definitely there's a little bit less improvement there. So if all stays this way, then Daniel is likely going to be taking pole. That's Luis up to pole right now for the very, very short future, because this is looking like it's going to be enough of an improvement for Daniel to take that right back as they cross the line. We should see that any moment now, given that we are on to the final corner of this racetrack, this little kink here right before the line. Crossing it now, and that is pole once again for Daniel Taverner, a 158.120 in it. And I have to imagine there was probably at least a little bit of time in it anyway with that little tiny mistake there in Vale. So could have been even faster, but you know, who cares if it's faster if it's fast enough.
It's Racing Team Echo pulling a 1-2 qualifying finish here with Daniel Taverner. Keep in mind, Taverner's a gold driver, Adeline is a pro driver, so this will be very interesting on how they'll sort each other out. But it was originally supposed to be a 1-2-3, but Sauce Dragon right here is putting himself smack dab in the middle of it, and just drifting a little bit in that Mustang. I don't think they need to do a lap time, but whatever. Here is Sauce Dragon crossing the line to conclude our qualifying session.
Right, so that was an improvement there from Sauce, just barely though. I think it was just in that last corner that they ended up losing it. But yeah, it's the times are looking really, really close together right now. Everybody from 5th up is doing the 58s, and then sort of in that midfield there, starting with Luke Packer, our other platinum. Kind of surprising to see them down in 6th, but definitely our gold field is very, very strong today as well. So I don't doubt at all that they could potentially be making up some positions, and they'll definitely be looking to in this one. But yeah, so Daniel Taverner on pole for both the gold and the overall class. And then Blade Wolf is our silver pole holder, and Luis Gordon there in P11 in the BMW. That is our AM pole sitter, which is a really, really impressive performance right in the mix there.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Racing Team Echo, a new team here. They are already starting off with a bang. Like, you have a 1-2 finish and the AM class pole position. So it will be very interesting to see how this momentum will carry over from the race. Now, keep in mind, these are also some of these guys are also former drivers under my wing, but I feel like they've improved a lot more in Echo, that's for sure.
Under your fin, you would say, I suppose.
Oh, damn it. I knew that was coming.
Session will be starting here in just a little bit. We are waiting for ACC to tick over to our race session. If you are new with us, we're using our usual race format today. It'll be an hour-long sprint race with a pit stop in between. That pit window is 20 minutes long, so basically any time between 40 minutes and 20 minutes left on the clock, you can come in and make your pit stop, which includes a mandatory tire change, which in most cases also definitely folks will be taking new fuel as well, because you can do those at the same time. That's generally how pit strategy tends to be. But definitely there is, with the race being this long, there's definitely an interest in trying to take it just as easy as you can in the opening laps. Just make sure that you stay in your lane and see where you end up. But here we are with the grid walk.
All right, so that is Daniel Tabiner on pole position for both Gold Class and overall, starting alongside their teammate Luis Adeline in the number 57 Nissan GTR. Breaking the Echo 123 is Sauce Dragon in P3 in that confuzzled Mustang. Very wonderful livery as always. And P4 is Kayla Mooney, the number 22 Bimmer. Starting in P5 and P6 are Christian Clipper, the first Tay Gang racing car on this grid, and behind them is Luke Packer, the number 286 Cabal Simsports BMW. P7 is the teammate, so it's a Cabal 67. It's Nicholas Zahn in that number 46 Lexus. And in P8 is Lycan Racing's Blade Wolf Kagekiyo. P9 we have Yap Jintech of Leggy2 Fast Racing, and rounding off our top 10 is Auras Volpez in that Lamborghini. Starting with our AM class pole position in P11, we have Luis Gordon once again from Racing Team Echo, starting alongside the Tay Gang racing car of Vossi Tigris. And then we have Ma Motorsports, number 77 Bentley of Alias Flynn, starting alongside another Tay Gang car, that is Parker Olson in the number 74 McLaren, representing the Gold class. P15, we have Sadget in that Lamborghini, starting alongside, I believe that's the first Garage 42 car we'll be seeing. That is Jesper Swingley in the number 279, starting alongside a fellow Garage 42 teammate of George Sarami in the number 212 Porsche. And in P18, we have Adam Norlim in that number 574 21 Autosports Honda NSX. And then P19, P20, we have Fluffy Whitepoint in that number 39 Whitepoint car, starting alongside Sif Harvey in that warplane Aston Martin. Very nice livery. In P21, we have the only driver representing Blue Shark E-Racing, Wolfen Ravenloft in that number 529 Mustangs. I can already hear the engines growing. They're gonna be rolling off, starting alongside JPEG Fox in that number 12 Aston Martin. In P23, we have a newcomer here. That is Oliver Renfield in the number 65 Works Mustang livery, the default livery, starting alongside another Garage 42 of Dan Maurer. In P25, we have the number 78, another Nissan GTR. That is Koda Wolf. And starting alongside Cooper Otter in the number 97 BMW. I gotta be faster. These guys are starting to roll off the grid. In P27, we have Manuel Benavides in that number 5 McLaren, starting alongside the number 24 of Charter in that number 24 Lamborghini. And then I believe that these will be our last few drivers, but P29, the number 69, nice McFlurry Mustang of Jeremy Dalton. Evan Bretzik in the number 123 Lamborghini. Now, keep in mind, this is an old Lamborghini, so this will be interesting to see how this will run compared to the newer gen Lamborghini. And rounding off our grid, the number 67 of Snowdog in Garage 42.
How will it run? Not good, I don't think. I'm really sorry to Evan, but I mean, that car is not covered under whatever balance of performance that we have. So you're just going to have to basically just sort of run the car as it was designed. No minus 40 kilograms for you. You just have to use it as designed, and well, I guess you'll just. You're starting on the back row. That's not too bad of a place to be, honestly. If there's a big wreck in front, so eyes up, keep your head on the swivel, and try not to put your foot down too hard, because I don't think any of those cars have the updated suspension either.
Well, it will be interesting to see how an old Lamborghini will perform for sure. But focusing on a new gen Lamborghini, this is Daniel Taverner, our pole position driver, leading the rest of the field as they head into the formation laps, getting their tires warm, getting their brakes warm, making sure all those temps are optimal, making sure their engine maps are perfect condition, and making sure their hardware is at its best condition, as we have a lot of drivers scrambling on this track.
That is actually a really good point, though, with the engine map, though, considering it does work a little bit differently in the Huracan Evo 2, as well as I don't know if it's the case that it works this way in the other Lamborghinis as well. But for the Evo 2, the engine map setting is basically an engine brake setting, where you sort of you can adjust exactly how much work the sort of engine is doing to slow down the car when you are braking, and depending on how you tune that, you can get different performance characteristics out of the car, and you can, since it's just on a dial on your steering wheel, if you have such a thing, or if you've just bound a button to increasing and decreasing it, you can even adjust it on a per corner basis. I don't really know of anybody who does that, but if you really wanted to and you felt like that was getting you as much performance as you can, that's absolutely something that you can do. So just a really interesting little quirk of the Evo 2, and it's one of the reasons why I tend to like this one as we start going 2x2.
Yeah, the drivers are going double file here. It's Racing Team Echo stealing the front row of this grid. Now, who will be first on this drag race? Will it be the V10 of that Lamborghini, or will it be the Godzilla's V6 turbocharged engine? Now, the GTR, I believe that it's pretty solid when it comes to top speed, so it might have a slight upper hand when it comes to the race start, but that Lamborghini's got that inside line, it's got that optimal line. So if Taverner has a great run, they can just stay on the inside and pull a great exit off Adeline. But anyways, here we go. The first round of the Simufur GT3 series will go underway. And I think, yeah, Adeline's a little bit ahead. I'm not sure if that counts. But it's away we go. It's Adeline ahead of Taverner, surprisingly enough, as they head into turn 1. But it's going to be Taverner taking the lead once again. It's all things considered, and that is Mooney. That is Mooney passed into P3. It is an Echo 1, 2, 3 as we head into Maggotts and Beckett's. A little bit of argy-bargy going on. Got quite a number of drivers heading into these series of corners, but so far, everyone's taking this oh so carefully, and we don't have any, mark my words, well, speak of the devil, I think that is Dan Maurer, but, oh, a little bit, oh, we have a red flag. We have a red flag.
When did that happen? It looks like a decent number of cars are still driving okay. I'm not sure why we red flagged that one. Obviously, we'll probably see if we can see a replay, but yeah, I think it's because of the way that the ACC sessions work. I don't think we're actually going to be able to get a replay of that, and we didn't get a great view of it on the broadcast cameras, but it must have been the AM field getting just absolutely entangled in each other, because it actually looked like the pros and silvers got away okay. But it's going to be take 2 here for Daniel. They're just going to have to do the same thing again, I guess.
Yeah, it's back to square one we go as we wait for the drivers to prepare once more for this race. And apparently we have word that it's apparently due to a driver trying to connect. I could be wrong though, and I feel like it could be due to a big accident there, but we will see.
Yeah, it's looking like, at least in the Season 8 chat that I'm looking at right now, it's looking like somebody's game crashed. I think it might have been Flynn, actually, unfortunately, who is up in quite a high position, who... a wreck mid-pack is what we're hearing for the red flag, which, yeah, fair enough. we didn't catch it on our race control, but that's totally okay. And that actually will probably give Flynn a chance to reconnect here as we are trying to get the session going again.
Yeah, and it was a 7-car pileup according to
okay, well, that'll do it
right now. And anyways, talking about Flynn, who unfortunately can't make it to the race due to a software issue from what I am hearing. Now, unfortunately, I have had that experience myself, and I can relate really well, you know. But unfortunately, you cannot join session because, unfortunately, that's how the server is set at the moment. But yeah, really tough case here for Flynn. As the drivers get ready once again, I believe that is, we have like around 30 seconds until we have another formation lap.
Yeah, that's definitely tough for Flynn, but it does mean that we're back to an even 30 cars, so that makes my brain happy.
No, it would have been fun if we had more drivers. The more the merrier, you know?
Absolutely. Why have 30 when you can have 31? You know, that's what I always say.
No, I said that. Anyways,
no, I know you said that. I said it makes me happy to see 30 cars, but I don't feel like those are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, true. Anyways, the drivers
are we
have
vamping
started
well
their
enough?
Engines, and I believe that we are getting on their way for another formation lap. So, yeah, take 2. Basically, just get your tires warm up, and there is Tavener rolling off already. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it was interesting watching the start from the front of the row because sort of when the start procedure kicks over from just being in double file and maintaining your position to you then go to sort of maintaining a constant speed right before the flag goes green. And it looked like at that phase of the start that Luis Adeline was sort of on the outside line and actually kind of got a nose a little bit ahead of Daniel, which I know that can definitely, it didn't in that case because I think things got resolved more or less sort of right before the flag dropped. But if you're a little bit offline like that at that point in the start procedure, you can absolutely get penalties for that, and they are fairly severe from my understanding. So you definitely want to avoid that as much as you can. Other things that we can get penalties for around here are, of course, track limits. We'll be watching track limits around Stowe and also probably in turn 1 into Cops. Those are the places that are sort of the highest speed parts of the track where you're just trying to put down as much power as you can and use as much of the track as you can. And that tends to lead to track limits violations as well. Also, if you mess up your pit entry, of course, it's pretty much a straightforward pit entry for this particular configuration of Silverstone circuit. We don't use the Formula 1 pit road, as you've probably noticed by now. We start on the Wellington Straight rather than the Hamilton Straight, like Formula 1 does, so it's a little bit of a different procedure, and I think it's been that way in GT3 racing for quite some time at this point.
I would like to correct, because Wellington Straight is actually the straight before our main straight, which doesn't have a name according to my track app, so I'm just gonna call it Woodcut, you know, the corner that is in that straight. Anyways, we are at the Hamilton Straight, looking into the onboard of Luke Packer here, who is one of our pro class drivers. I think we have a small number of pro class drivers making up this field, so it will be interesting to see how that'll go. But so far, our fastest pro is, of course, Luis Adeline. So, yeah.
No, and I mean that's what we said at the beginning, right? Is that this is a great chance for Golds to really get some hardware here, not only in their class but also for the overall positions. We do split out our leaderboards here for the 4 different classes. The pros competing for overall, and then the other classes also competing for their specific class titles. So when it comes to racing in that kind of environment, you kind of want to be as conscious as possible as we're going too wide once again, and in some cases 3 or maybe 4.
Whoa,
Like that looks like a car
that was a
spins
spinner.
180 over in the background there. Should
That is
hopefully
Noralim, yes.
That's Adam Norland. Should hopefully get back to their grid position by the time we go green, but it might be a bit of a tall order, and those tires won't be feeling good now at the start of the race.
Yeah, that is the last thing you want happen in the end of your formation lap as Noralim gets back into position and our Team Echo front row gets ready to approach Woodcut and start this race once again. It's Adeline looking a bit ahead of Taverner, and as someone said, second time's a charm. I hope it really is the case, because I don't want another red flag. I want to see some more racing action as these two are getting ready to line up as we wait for the green flag to wait any second now. And
Green light. Give it over.
And we are underway, green light, and Taverner has a good start once more against Adeline. Adeline having to shuffle behind into P2, but Mooney and Sauce Dragon going too wide into Maggots and Beckett's. This can only go one way or another, and they're still side to side coming into Maggots and Beckett's. They are fighting right now for P3 as Parker Olsen gets involved as well. And it's another kerfuffle, hopefully much cleaner than before, I believe. Yeah, according to my radar, things are much cleaner than before, and we're going green flag racing. As we head into the front, I believe that fight for P3 is still on. But Daniel Taverner ahead of their teammate Luis Adeline, and it looks like Sauce Dragon has had things sorted with Mooney.
Yeah, much better start there for the rest of the field, but also much better start there for Sauce Dragon as well. We saw in the first start that they had actually lost that position to Kalamuni, and potentially, I think, lost a few more. So Lee Gordon is trying to get around just anyway.
Oh, that's
a little bit of
that
a
is
tap
a
there for Parker
spinner!
Olsen, and that's all the way around for the Lamborghini. That's another board taken out there for Sadket, trying to just get back on the road as safely as they can. And I'm seeing a lot of yellow triangles on our timing tower here, so potentially a lot more cars out of their positions, and hopefully not out of the race either. This is looking like a little bit of a mistake there from Fluffy that's going to give Luis Gordon a little bit of a look up the inside as they are heading down the main straight here, down towards this looks like Bridge Corner here that they are heading towards at the moment, and that's not going to be close enough for a move this time around as Fluffy cuts the inside, cuts that one off.
You know, that could have been much worse for RS Vulpes. Thank goodness they did not collect anyone in that wreck, but it looks like a racing incident to me so far. It was just a light tap, and that was enough to send the Lamborghini spinning. Anyways, Luis Adeline still closing on to Taverner in that GTR, but looks like Taverner has a healthy gap on their teammate as these guys continue on.
Yeah, no, it's looking like the gaps are already forming towards the top of the field. It's looking fairly close between 6, 7, and 8 right now. We have definitely a big train forming down in the AM field. We're looking at the end of that train right now, but Vossi also up 2 positions from where they started and trying to hold on to a third one, and they will end up getting that from Blade Wolf, so Blade Wolf dropping a position from where they started. It's looking like a really, really good start so far from the TGR 992 of Vossi here.
Yeah, that is now Vossi has a whole field of pro gold drivers now, so he doesn't have to worry about being left behind. Speaking of, we have Fluffy Whitepoint here racing with Sarami and Luis Gordon. This is for the lead of the AM class, I believe. White Point versus Gordon as we head into Abbey Corner. It's going to be really, that's White Point going wide. That's going to compromise their run, and that is Swingley trying to find a gap to go around the Ferrari. As I think that's Swingley down the inside. Gets the move done, but it's going to be really close. But it is Swingley with the power of that Porsche rolling away and stealing a position from Fluffy White Point.
That was nice and clean. I always get really scared when somebody tries to get up the inside of the loop there because the way that that corner sort of works, that's a really big overlap. Because I kept braking really, really hard into this corner, much harder than the two cars in front trying to get involved as much as they can. But what I was saying, it's really, really easy just to forget that there's a car on your inside there. The natural line of that corner leads you to sort of swing out to the outside as much as you can and then cut back in really late. And it's hard to even see where the apex of the corner is when you're trying to do that, much less if there is a car on the inside as well. So it definitely is something that you have to keep in mind. We have radars here in ACC, which does help a lot with that. You sort of get that extra bit of UI awareness to make sure that there's nobody that you are about to turn into when you're turning into that corner. But it's still, it can be a hotbed for incidents sometimes, and that looked like some really, really clean racing there. As that's Fluffy into the wall, unfortunately. That's going to be a lot of positions lost for them, as they were just leading their class, and now they're going to have a lot of work to do for the next 55 minutes of this one.
That is just really unfortunate for Fluffy White Point. Things are just getting worse and worse for them, dropping down the order. Let's see what happened here. Going wide down Beckett's, I believe. No. Yeah, actually going going too deep, then going too wide. I think that'll do it. Yeah, then that Ferrari loses control, snap of over here, and into the barriers. That's going to be a lot of damage on the front end, which the Ferrari is quite dependent on.
That's one of the slowest spins I've ever seen, but that's sort of what those spins tend to look like around those sort of really long radius corners, where you're just trying to you think that you've judged it right and that you've put down as much power as you can as Nicholson is getting close, but not too close to the back. That's Oliver Renfield off into the tarmac runoff. Thankfully, not all the way into the gravel for them. They're going to try to rejoin as safely as they can with this group fighting behind them. And it looks like they're going to get okay with minimal resistance there. Daniel Taverner continuing to set fastest laps as the gap in front has gone up to almost 2 seconds now. We've been barely paying attention to the front of the field with all of the action going on down here in the mid-pack, as it tends to be in Simufur. This is going to be a little bit of a dangerous overlap to have maybe into Cops, but it looks like the Honda NSX of Adam Norland there is going to be more sensible. A little bit of a wide moment there for them, but they're going to be going almost side by side, weaving around, trying to find a way through, and it's not going to appear for them this time around.
Yeah, this is the first broadcast sprint race of the year, and already we are seeing carnage. This is what I miss here in Simufur here. The absolute tenacity of these drivers trying to get at each other, trying to get past, and trying to score some points here on this first round.
That was really close there between the Porsche of Yapchentek there and Yapchentek, excuse me, and Luke Packer, who is trying to defend their P7 right now. Hasn't made any progress up the field. In fact, I think they started in P6, so they've gone back one position from where they started. So it hasn't been a great race here for our other Platinum driver. And it looks like they might lose another one. It's side by side between them and the Porsche, and that's not a really great place for the Porsche to be in this case, given that the inside is going to turn into the outside, but they are going to swing around the outside with that little bit of contact there on the exit of the preceding corner. Looked like okay racing to me. This might be an opportunity as well for Vossi to get around as well, given that these two have slowed down each other with their fighting. That's going to be a pretty late lunge there from Vossi, but they're going to get the car stopped, and it's not going to be enough, I don't think, to get out in front before this part, but they're just going to try to stick it around the outside, put their foot down earlier than Luke Packer there, but it looks like Luke is going to defend okay. Really good racing here for the spots in the top 10. It's really, really entertaining so far.
Luke Packer unfortunately dropping down. That was a brilliant move from Yapchentek. I gotta admit, going down the inside of that village corner, they found the opportunity and just stuck with it. And now they are running away as it speaks, as Luke Packer starting to drop down a little bit of a slide as he comes into Max and Beckett. So that's just going to bring Vossi much closer to the picture as they head into Hangar Straight. That Porsche using its as much power as it can to try and stay behind the toe and probably get a pass into Stowe corner. It looks like Vossi's really close. Will he stick down the inside? I don't think so. Vossi thinks better of it. And will try to find a better gap to successfully get past Packer. But you know, looking at Blade Wolf, I think Vossi might want to have this move done as soon as possible, because Blade Wolf is also closing in, and this is just going to cause what is called a truly train. So we have a long chain of cars and it's might be starting from Luke Packer.
That's what it looks like. Watching that 992 down the straight, it's the little flat six that could, just trying to keep up as much as it can with the BMW in front. Honestly, what the draft is mostly doing is just sort of neutralizing the speed difference between those cars, rather than what it normally does, which is give you enough power to sort of muscle past. But at this point, it looks like it's all that Vossi can do, at least on the straights, to try to just hold position. So the strategy from here at this point, sort of the tactical dynamic, they're going to have to try to find enough of an overlap to just try to lunge down the inside with the braking power on that Porsche and the extra speed that you can get sort of mid-corner and out of the corners with that acceleration, and just try to hope that that is going to do enough for you to break away on the straights as much as you can. The gap has come out a little bit though between the two, as they are now fighting for P8 at this point, with Yapshin Tech sort of disappearing already up the road. Not too far away still. Luke might still just be getting just a little bit of a whiff of that draft, which is absolutely going to be helping them in this battle. But for the most part, it's just going to be this train continuing to sort of just look for an opportunity.
Yeah, as we look into further back into the field, we have Cooper Otter racing with Snowdog, I believe. Now Snowdog, no, that is Snowdog who just made the pass on Cooper Otter from what I'm hearing. And that is Cooper Otter a little loose on coughs. As I wanted to say, Snowdog hasn't been racing here for quite a while now. This is their first time in, I don't know, at least plenty of months, but great to see them back racing on the grid. Great to see them once more and making moves in that Garage 42 Porsche, as RS Volpez trying to recover from that incident with Olsen as they head in behind the warplane livery of Harvey. Now Volpez has a lot of AM drivers to pass in order to get to the next silver driver, which is Sadcat in a fellow Lamborghini.
Yeah, based on the pace that we were seeing from them sort of before the start of the session in qualifying, this is definitely not where they want to be. They can't sort of use that pace, and it's still 8 more minutes until the pit window. So normally what I would say in a position like this is if you can come into the pits super early before everybody else and just run a bunch of laps on your own, and then just hope that by the time everybody else comes in for their stop that you've overtaken all of these cars, and that sort of the pace difference has worked its magic to put you back up where you're supposed to be. But they're going to have to suffer behind these cars for at least 4 or 5 more laps here, considering that it is still at least that long before you can come in and make your valid stop. Now, if you're an AM in this situation, you probably don't want to fight this too much. Obviously, you don't want to sort of lose any track position to any of the cars that you are actually fighting. Any of the ones that are in front of you. And so, you know, sort of given that this isn't really a fight for points, I have to imagine that they want to try to get out of the way as quickly as they can, but it hasn't happened so far.
Yeah, Sadcat behind Rami, I think, trying to take it as careful as he can. That Lamborghini bouncing as it comes out of Chapel Curve. And I don't think Sadcat has to worry yet, but with how fast Volpez is closing in, he might have to look into his mirrors in the later stint of the race.
Yeah, I have to imagine, especially just, you know, like I said, you know, given the pace between these two, and it looks like RS has cleared at least one of the AM drivers. They have about a second to go before they hit the next one. and then it'll be just another negotiation from there. But it also looks like Sauce Dragon is getting a little bit closer to the back of Luis Adelin there in P2. This is our fight for the top of the grid, and that gap between them has been pretty constant, at least sort of between these two. I have to imagine if there might be any sort of team dynamics coming into this as well. If Luis Adelin is just going to be trying to slow down that car as much as they can to try to give Daniel up in front, their teammate, just as much of a gap as they can, just to make sure that Sash can't go and fight for P1 after that battle is said and done. But so far, the two of them aren't close enough yet to really decide that. But in either case, I have to imagine that Nissan GTR is going to be defending pretty hard once they get together.
And Tavernier running away as we speak. Now Adeline's a little more vulnerable to Sauce Dragon in this state, so Sauce Dragon has a lot to play for. It's a Mustang versus GTR, two pretty identical cars. These are two heavyweight cars. They are quite strong on power, and yeah, they're both front engine. So it's going to be interesting to see how they will match each other. That's Volpez trying to get past JPEG Fox, coming into Maggots and Beckett's, but doesn't make the move quite yet. Might have to save that later for the hanger straight as that Lamborghini trails behind the Aston Martin. Can Volpez put all that 10 cylinders into getting past JPEG Fox? But that Aston Martin still has quite some legs, as it looks like, and it looks like JPEG Fox will be staying ahead for now.
And gosh, for RS, that has to be the worst place to be catching two AM drivers in the middle of what looks to be a pretty heated battle at this point. And especially, going through those high-speed corners, you're losing a lot of time doing that. And none of the cars in front are going to be super interested in giving up their track position, because they're, of course, in the process of fighting each other. But it is really making it difficult for RS to try to get around, and that's only helping Sadkit continue to pull away. That group of 3 cars, by the way, 8 seconds now away. And speaking of another group of cars, that's Yapton Tech on the inside. Little bit of contact there, and that's going to be enough to just spin them around a little bit back onto the grass there. So they're going to be losing a couple of positions at least. Niklason up to P9 there, and Blade Wolf up to P8 now, right behind Vossi there up in the top one. And just Luke Packer did not want to give up that position under any circumstances. It looked like maybe a little bit of a dive there from Yapton Tech, but it looked like they pretty much got the car stopped, so I don't think there's really anything wrong with it. It's just maybe necessarily just, hard attacking and hard defending. That's what's going to happen.
Speaking of, I want to bring attention to Vossi Tigris and Luke Packer, because they are dueling at my screen right now. As we saw, George Sarami had a bit of a spin in I believe that is Lovefield, but after the tangle of after the tangle
Sorry, just looking
of
at this train is just incredible.
And Tech, Vossi Tigris tried to get a move down on Packer, but it looks like for now, at least for now, yes, that is Packer keeping Tigris at bay. But my goodness, the battle between these guys is absolutely phenomenal. And you have this huge cluster of cars dueling each other, trying to get past each other. I believe that is, in my radar, that is the longest train we have here. And it's currently being led by Luke Packer.
Parker Olsen in P12 is 2 seconds away from Luke in P6. That's where this train is at right now with all of these cars, and just, we saw the pace. All of these cars are just really, really close to each other on it. But what a performance so far from Yapton Tech, just giving us just an absolute performance in attacking racecraft here in the Porsche, which has been one of our sort of in a punching sort of above their weight a little bit around this particular combo. But this is the view from Jesper. They're just looking to try to take advantage of all this fighting that's been going on up in front. Certainly the rest of the cars behind them have also been really, really benefiting from this amount of fighting. I'm just waiting for all of these cars to try to go into the pits at the same time, and then we'll really see what happens with a minute to go now before our pit window opens. We've had less than 20 minutes of racing still.
Yeah, as we saw, Swingy slide a bit into cups, trying to get time on Yapjin Tech. And you did put a great point out there. The pit lane is going to be very interesting with these guys because it is 1 minute remaining until our pit window opens. Now, when this pit window opens, all our drivers are free to make their mandatory pit stop, which is, I believe, it is tires and fuel. And it is projected to be a one stop, obviously, unless you have like a really severe crash later on and you absolutely have to pit. But on paper, the best strategy is always going to be a one stop with tires.
Right, and changing those tires is going to take you about 30 seconds to do stationary. And given actually that this is I think it's a decently long pit lane here at Silverstone. Definitely not the longest pit lane on the calendar, I don't think, as George Strame is continuing to defend this P18 from Sadket. This is an AM on a silver. So again, Sadket trying to basically do the same thing that Aras is doing, and Aras has actually ended up back in front, up in P17 now. So actually the dynamic has been flipped here. These cars are getting closer to each other now, but definitely the both of them just trying to handle this traffic as quickly as they can. This looks like it's not going to happen right now for RS. The C's are not quite parting yet, given that these cars, I think, are still fighting for position up here in front. So it's going to be really rough, and there's our notification now that the pit window is officially open for business.
Aras trying to get the power down in that Lamborghini in Wellington Straight. Well, can he get the inside of Brooklyn? Saves it for later. Trying to find where Harvey will crack. That warplane Aston Martin has been through hell with that Lamborghini hounding on its rear end. But I think, yeah, that is Aras, our first driver, diving into the pit lane.
Yeah, so, I mean, pretty much what I was saying before, right? If, Aras is on a recovery drive and Sadka coming in at the same time as well. Yeah, these two just wanting to match each other on strategy. This is their race between the two of them. They're hoping, probably, that by pitting early, they're going to be able to clear all of these AMs together, which unfortunately may not be the case given that some of the AMs are pitting with them. But you know who else has come into the pits as well, actually, is Yapshin Tech, who we've seen putting on a really great show of attacking driving here, and clearly thinks that they are faster than all of the cars in front are trying to do something about it. That's Christian and the Lamborghini all the way around. That was such a tragic coming together there between the two of them. Christian just trying to clear that car as quickly as they could. That's going to be a lot of positions lost, unfortunately. All the way down to P11. That's Parker Olsen promoted up to P10. Jasper up to P9. Blade Wolf up to P8. Let's watch that again.
Yeah, this is the point I want to make. You really have to clear these AMs as efficiently as you can, because not only as AM traffic, but as blue flag, you really have to get around these drivers carefully. As Chris tried to get on the inside and tried to pull out, but couldn't quite make it out there.
Not to speak ill of anybody here, but I feel like being parked on that particular apex, perhaps not the best way to behave as a blue flag driver. I mean, I know there was another car on the outside as well, it looked like, that was trying to get around. There's Coda Wolf taking a little bit of a spin through Stowe as well. But just really not where you want to be. That's a fourth gear corner. Cars are going really, really fast through there, and you don't want to really try to do anything unpredictable or tangle them up that much. So I don't really blame Christian for that one. That's a really unfortunate incident there. George getting really close here behind the back of Sif's Aston Martin Vantage Evo here, or excuse me, not the Evo. This game does not have that car, which is really unfortunate, but that's okay. Going through cops and is sticking to the back of them pretty well. Is flirting a little bit with the track limits there. I think that was just about within the realms of acceptability.
Yes, Rami, the new driver, hounding on that warplane. That warplane has been through war, that's for sure. Stiff Harvey tries to run away, but that power of that Porsche, undeniable, accelerating off of Chapel Curve, I believe, trying to defend, but I think, yeah, I think that's Swingley. No, that is Swingley going down the inside of Stowe Corner. Can he get the move done? Yes, he can. That was George Cerami in the wipers. I'm sorry. It's so confusing because normally I associate those wipers with Swingley, but apparently it's a Garage 42 thing, I guess.
But they just turn on their wipers? Is that the thing?
I believe so.
That's really funny. I love that. But also, really, really good racing between these two. And that's the kind of thing that you have to do if you're a Porsche around Silverstone today. You just have to just take the opportunities that you can, take the gaps that you can, and hope that everything's going to work out in the end. I wasn't really sure if George was going to be able to hold on to that.
Whoa.
That Porsche's looking really slidey now. And we were seeing through Stowe as well that the car was getting really unstable. That's that rear starting to fishtail, the rear engine Porsche sort of acting like a pendulum there. When you get that thing unsettled, it just kind of keeps getting more and more unsettled. That's our first ticking racing car into the pits now as Vossi takes their mandatory pit stop. They're towards the front of the pit lane, so should be able to get out in front of that other car behind them. But yeah, that is obviously not what you want to do when you are especially driving the Porsche. That was kind of, I played around with driving the Porsche for quite a while in this game, and I stopped driving it because I just couldn't get the tires to calm down after I had given them a spin. It just sort of tends to compound really, really heavily, especially in that car, and then you're kind of sliding all over the place.
Yeah, that was the point I was wanting to make with that Porsche. Once the tires go, once that fuel tank gets lighter, that car is a handful to drive. I mean, you got that engine all the way in the back, and then you no longer have front end weight due to how little fuel you have. So as we look over to JPEG Fox, who is making a move on Wolf and Ravenloft. Now that Aston Martin versus Mustang, two V8 engines, one from Europe, one from America, but it's JPEG Fox around the outside. Can he get the move done? Not quite. Ravenloft still holds the inside and runs off in that naturally aspirated American V8.
Come on, JPEG, you could have squeezed him a little more than that. You left so much room on the inside. I think there was probably just a little bit of an outbraking there from JPEG potentially, but yeah, that's the sort of fighting that you want to try to do. It's not a bad idea, honestly, trying to go around the outside of Stowe. It's one of those corners where you can try to make it work, and George is just eating popcorn, watching this unfold, seeing if they can get it.
Oh, that's Robbie down the inside! How did he make that move?
Did you get the car stopped? God.
Goodness
Wow,
me,
all right. Well, JPEG is going to try to see if they can get that back. I don't know if that was maybe a little bit of early braking from JPEG there as well. Maybe that wasn't quite the lunge that we thought it was going to be, but Porsche is giving us quite a show today, and that is not going to be quite enough of an overlap. Gosh, you can see how late that Porsche can brake, and that might have been too much there. That was just too much. They're going to try to fight it on the inside. They do have the inside.
Oh, no.
JPEG's going to get off the
JPEG's
track a little bit, and they're going to lose not one but two positions, unfortunately, from this one. But wow, jeez, yeah, maybe just about time to come into the pits if you're in front of this, because you're going to be losing a lot of time if you run into all this fighting.
George Cerami doing all the spicy moves. First that move into Stowe, and then that dive bomb into, I believe that is Village. Yes, that is Village. Cerami's just stealing all the camera time, and that is a Mustang loose. It's at utter carnage right now as these drivers try to make the most out of their final laps in their first stint, and that is Blade Wolf Kaikio going through.
I think everybody's tires are simultaneously melting at the same time. That's my theory about what's going on right now, because we're seeing basically everybody is just sliding around, just like drifting through a lot of the slow speed corners, especially. All of this fighting that they've been doing, that's a car off as well. Thankfully, just kind of parking it on the outside there, not getting interfered at all, not getting tangled up at all with the cars that are actually on the track, trying to handle these tires. And I mean, it's got to be really, really tempting to come in right now, just try to get off of these boiling tires.
That's Adeline pulling over. I think that is a technical problem for Adeline. She gets rolling once again, but I believe, yes, something might have been wrong. Probably a technical problem.
Yeah, we can take a look at what was going on before that. Looked like this was happening on the start-finish straight, unfortunately, which is not really where you want to be completely stopping a car. It looks to be okay still around here. This was back when the gap between her and the leader was not too long.
Probably a technical problem. Just slow down out of nowhere.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have been... My initial thought maybe was, I mean, she really cut the inside of that sort of kink right before the main straight, or the start-finish straight there, and like could have been slowing down to try to make sure that she didn't run into like a track limits violation. But definitely there's a difference between slowing down and just stopping the car. So maybe something steering-wise going on. Maybe had to reconnect something. But regardless, that is going to be a 2 dropped positions for her. She's down to P4 now.
As I was about to say before that happened, Silverstone is a track full of high speed, a lot of medium and high speed corners, so it's easy to degrade those tires, especially when it's hot. We've seen in real life, this happened in Formula 1. An infamous example was 2013 and 2020, where the latter year, Lewis Hamilton won on 3 tires because their tires burst on the last lap.
Well, I don't know if we're going to see any hard punctures today. It's definitely the curbs here are a little bit more forgiving about it. I guess if you really start banging away at the inside corners, that's very wide there from Wolf and Ravenloft, who is trying to defend this position from JPEX Fox. That might be a track limits violation there for sure. But yeah, I can't imagine that it's going to get that hot. Maybe if you were on full wets right now, that might happen. But at least for now, don't really have to worry about that. But for how good the tires are right now, you might as well be on 3 tires at this point, quite honestly. But if you change at this point, right, every lap early that you pit, it's going to make your tires suffer that much more at the end of the race. So it's more of a matter of where do you want to be fast, right? What time in the race do you want to be fast? For folks like Araz and Sadket who pitted immediately, they want to be fast right now so that they can, use their pace to get back up in the positions that they should be in with their recovery drive, as Wolf and Ravenloft making the decision to just split it right down the middle and maximize the life on each of those sets of tires, which is usually the way to go.
Yeah, we are reaching the halfway mark, as was heard from my radar, but Sadket here right now, behind Benavides, I believe they made a pit stop, so they're just trying to get through the AMP-class drivers. That's not the ideal strategy we wanted, because you're going to be hampered a little by those drivers. Another topic was, I did see Sarami having to serve a stop-go 30 penalty, potentially, for speeding in the pit lane. Now that's really unfortunate for our hero of the race. He has to do that climb. They have to do that climb all over again.
Yeah, gosh, that is not where you want to be. But, if anybody can do it, honestly, from what we've seen so far in this race, I have full faith in them that they can at least get a few points from this one. Our top 20 in this race will be scoring points. And I think it's just a straight up... It's not a straight up 20-0. I think it's by 2s from 1st to 10th, and then by 1s from 11th to 20th or something like that. It doesn't really matter. Vossi's fighting for P8. That is what matters. They've gotten all the way back up to the back of Luke Packer's Lexus here, who has basically spent this entire race just sort of defending this position for their life, and is going to have to continue to do it as they are heading on to the village section right now. This is where we've seen the Porsche be pretty strong, and we've seen some amazing dives from here at least. Vossi decides that they're not that brave, but they are that brave to go on the inside here. Ooh, just enough room between the two of them, but that wasn't going to turn into a position at any point for Vossi. They're going to have to take their chance somewhere else, and what better chance than maybe the next corner, but no, that Porsche is just going to get gapped again. The little flat 6 that could, not quite being able to do it here.
Luke Packer once again leading a train. But that's another battle happening in front of these two. These are AM drivers, I believe. I think that is Coda Wolf, and yeah, that's a GTR of Coda Wolf and Fluffy White Point. Jewel. I don't know. I think. Yeah, I'm confused. I think that's just back markers or just blue flags. Oh, that was their position apparently. This radar getting a little confusing, but I think apparently that is White Point and Coda Wolf dueling each other. That has happened.
That was exceedingly nice of White Point to get that far out of the way for these two. Like, great on you. You know, you don't want to you don't want to disrupt this fight up there, but also you kind of lost like at least a second or something to the car that you were actually fighting. It looks like those two are going to be going side by side now up into Stowe. Coda Wolf not quite braking late enough to get that done. So White Point is going to hold on to the position for now. These two looking pretty close in pace to each other, and also looking close in pace to each other still is Luke Packer and Vossi here, who looks to be getting a pretty good run up to Cop's Corner, I believe, and they're not going to be able to. Oh no, this is on the Hamilton Straight. This is through that point again. They're going to pull out to the right side. That's just enough, I think, to get around. They're going to have the outside for this corner. They're going to be able to carry a little bit more speed. Luke Packer's going to try to hold it, but it's not going to be enough. That's Vossi up into P8 now.
Vossi Tigris with an absolute dive into Village. I feel like that's the favorite corner of the Porsches there. They can pounce on their opponent on that corner, as we've seen with Cerami and now Tigris, as Tigris gets past and will now get past. And that is Snowdog having a spinner, but continuing off.
All right, take a breath. Where are we at now? Yeah. Daniel Taverner has not yet hit, I don't, or no, there's definitely, there's a 22-second gap between Taverner and Nicholas Zahn in P2. So that tells me that that Taverner hasn't hit yet. And then Nicholas Zahn and Sauce Dragon also, Nicholas Zahn hasn't, Sauce Dragon has. So actually, the gap between, let's see, the time lost on the pits is going to be about a minute for all these drivers. Sauce Dragon lost 59 seconds to the leader by making that pit stop. So we can expect that Daniel is probably going to miss about the same amount of time from doing that. And given all of that context, there actually might be a decent chance that Sash might be able to take the lead. It's going to be about a 6-second gap between them as Sash gets to pit. So we'll see what happens up there.
Oh my goodness, that is Luke Packer almost running into the rear end of Vossi, as this duel is not yet over. These two are still going to be going at it, but for now, I think that outbreaking of Packer might have cost them a gap to Vossi, so they will have to recompose themselves, and if they want to duel once more, they'll try to inch ever so slightly closer to try and get that slipstream. As we see Nicholas Zahn, their teammate, in the pit lane, and I believe they will be coming out right in front of this pack if all goes well.
Yep. So yeah, only Daniel has not pitted, which honestly, you're this far in the lead, kind of why not a little bit at this point. You have 23 minutes left in the race. Every lap that you do is going to be fresher and fresher tires when you get to the end of the race. So basically, as long as nobody can really get particularly close to you, kind of all you have to do is just make sure that you get out in front by the time that you leave the pit lane. And then once the tires are warm, you can kind of just drive off into the sunset. This is looking pretty good for Daniel here. The pace has been really strong this entire time, but definitely the pit window is going to be closing very, very soon. So if not this lap, it is definitely going to have to be the next lap. And at that point, you're starting to play around with seconds here. And it's a very, very hefty penalty if you miss your pit window. So you definitely don't want to mess around with it.
Yeah, it will be really risky if Daniel Taverner will do one more lap in this tire, and I believe that, yeah, that is Taverner playing safe, pulling in the pit lane at the safest moment possible. I mean, they do want the freshest tires for their final stint, but they do not want to risk that penalty. And I believe Taverner made the right decision because they are quite away. They are definitely quite away ahead of their teammates. As we see Sauce Dragon here, who I believe has, yeah, I believe they have pitted and they are in Village Corner. So I'm not sure how much time is lost in the pits, but it's going to be a really interesting race between the Mustang and the Lamborghini.
Yeah, everybody's been losing about 59 seconds total in the pit lane, 32 seconds stationary, considering that you do have to take those tires, and that's how long it takes to bolt them on. Taverner has about 5 seconds left stationary. It looks like they're probably going to end up in front of the Mustang of Sauce Dragon here, as they're dropped off the air jacks. They are back out of the pit lane. Sauce is creeping up closer and closer. They're on the front straight right now, 6 seconds between them. That's about the gap that we were expecting between these two. So at least for the short term, it's looking like job done for Daniel Taverner, and they are just going to have to now warm up these tires as fast as they can so that they can get back on pace and really just cement this gap and cement this win.
Yeah, Taverner is well ahead from a lot of the pack. The nearest guy, Sauce Dragon, only 4 seconds down the road, and this is, and keep in mind, Sauce Dragon, I think they started I believe that was P3, so they definitely they definitely got ahead of Adeline due to her having technical problems from what we can see. But yeah, Sauce Dragon taking advantage just by driving, but I don't think that will last long if Adeline can close in, as we see Nicholas Zahn racing with Christian Clifford. These two heading into Hangar Straight, our favorite gold class driver duel. And as Nicholas Zahn uses the power of the Lexus to get on the inside, on the marbles, but gets the move done. Will it get the move done? It's really close, but Christian Clifford hanging around the outside, trying to get past, trying to stay ahead of Nicholas Zahn, but Nicholas Zahn wrapping around the outside as they head into the chicane, and they both made it too wide. They're still running it. They're too wide. Oh, nearly squeezing Zahn, but these two are still pointing the right direction, and Zahn blinking, I believe, in displeasure or trying to spook Clifford. But either way, this duel is going to get spicier by the minute.
I feel like we already have a contender for defense of the championship in this first run here. That was some incredible defensive driving there by Christian to just continue, basically judged all of those outside lines just absolutely perfectly. It almost looked like sort of an exercise that I do of just doing the whole lap driving side by side. They're going to be doing it again, heading down into the bridge section here of Sector 3, the last couple turns on the lap, and that's going to be a slightly easier defense there from Christian, but they're still having to do it a little bit wide at the apex there through that final long corner before the kink towards the start-finish straight here. So just cutting inside as much as they can, just trying to stay out in front of this car, because the gap now between these two and Parker Olsen behind, they are going to have to keep an eye on that. It's 3.2 seconds between them at the moment, but Parker was easily over a second faster than both of them on that last lap, and definitely for an unsurprising reason. So keep it in mind, kids. Don't fight too hard.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, Nicholas Zahn trying to find the inside of Beckett's corner. Yeah, I can see him flashing, using the old reliable to try and spook Clifford, but I don't think Clifford cares at all. They're just driving ahead. They're just parking the car in all the right places, trying to keep Zahn behind, and he's doing a very good job at it, as you can see right here.
Ice water in his veins, just doing absolutely none of the defense that they don't need to do, just judging those gaps, just looking in the mirror and seeing, is there enough room for a lunge? Is there not? Do I have to make any unnecessary movements here that might slow me down and give them even more of an opportunity? And so far, they're really not. They're driving this lap to perfection. And anytime that Zahn is able to get a nose in or get alongside, they're just able to respond absolutely perfectly. And this has got to continue to be really, really frustrating if you are still staring at the back of this TGR Mercedes AMG. But definitely, I'm sure they're both having a lot of fun at the very least.
Yeah, Christian Clifford, making that Mercedes as wide as it can be. These are, I believe these are two V8s battling it out as Nicholas Zahn trying to find a gap once again, but that it gets really loose coming into Brooklands, and that will be a lot of time wasted. But also the tires being scrubbed a lot more. Now keep in mind, the more he stays behind the third gear, the hotter those tires could get. So staying behind him much longer might be a detriment to those tires. So he wants to get past as soon as possible, but Clifford is not making that easy, that's for sure.
Yeah, either get past as soon as possible if you think you can, or just kind of do this and just drop the gap back just a little bit more, so you're not running just directly in that really hot air if you can manage it. But definitely, they're still looking to be pretty close on this lap anyway. The straight line speed of that Mercedes looking good enough to hold them back this time. But yeah, I have to imagine that had to have taken a lot out of both of their tires, but especially Zahn's tires being the following car in this case. I have to wonder if the fight is maybe over at this point, if they have enough grip left in those tires to be able to make it happen. But the gap up at the front has gone from about 4 seconds to about 1.5 seconds, as Sash Dragon getting really, really close now at this point. But meanwhile, Luis Adeline behind is just did a purple lap for the race, the first 58 of this race. So don't counter out either.
Oh my goodness, these back markers are just getting spooked by these front runners coming in. I did want to say, Sauce Dragon is closing in on Daniel Sabner, so it's going to be interesting to see if the Mustang gets much closer. It could be a race for the win for Sauce Dragon, as Christian Clifford still making that Mercedes as wide as it can be, and Nicholas Zahn trying to get past, but to no avail as they head into Luffield and power down. That is still Clifford ahead, but that Lexus with the power can stay behind on the slipstream.
Yeah, I think that traffic helped a lot for Nicholas Sanchez. Are they going to go up the inside of Cops? Please do. There they go, and they are going around, and that looks like Christian might be able to hold it around the outside, but they're still side by side. That was a really, really good move from Nicholas Zahn there. They are going to get back up in front. Will Christian be able to respond on this next few sets of corners? They're going to have to stay as close as possible behind and clipping the grass, using all of the track and a little bit more just to try to carry as much speed as possible down this straight. And I don't know if it's going to end up being enough to try to send it up the inside into Stowe. They're there now, and I don't think it's going to be quite enough here. This is going to be a pretty tall order now for Christian, considering how much energy they've expended defending for all of these laps, and now they're going to have to go on the offensive.
I do want to point out, clipping the grass, I think clipping the grass might be a detriment to those tires. You could pick up a slow puncture if you ride a curb too hard. In ACC, you can get a puncture from clipping a high curb too hard, or just clipping on the inside of the grass. So Chris has to be really careful when it comes to his track extension, because he might clip that grass and it's game over once those tire pressures drop.
Right, it's sort of specifically the transition from the grass back onto the curb that usually does it, because there's a height difference between those things, and it kind of, when you're rubbing sideways against it, it tends to be a really hard strike against the sort of inside wall of the tire, and that causes some of the air to come out of it just a little bit, but over time it can build up. Vossi's trying to get around this Mustang up in front. This is the fight for P5 at the moment, and this is just a car that Vossi's trying to clear as fast as possible, and the car is not making it easy. This back marker is giving Luke an opportunity to not only get P6 but also P5 now, that they are trying to achieve here in this race. Vossi has got to be incredibly frustrated.
Oh, that is Packer!
And both of them are now side by side as they're heading into this next little bit of track, this next bit of Maggots and Beckett's. Vossi's going to be able to stay in front, and Vossi off into the grass, just trying to get around.
Oh! I believe that was the Mustang sent off into Chapel Corner. Yeah, that's the number 69 of me check my spotter again. That's number 69 of Jeremy Dalton getting hit from the front runners trying to get past him. And I think that separated Bossy Tigers and Luke Packer a bit, but I think that is just unnecessary stress for the both of them.
Yeah, that back marker was waved like at least 5 or 6 blue flags, I think. Just between like the corners that they were all going through. It was probably like half the lap or something that car that was, clearly not on the pace of the cars around it and sort of getting involved directly in that fight. And now both of these cars will probably be carrying at least a little bit of damage for the last like 10 minutes of this race or something. So not fantastic behavior from our blue flag drivers here in some cases. I wonder if that's going to be some kind of penalty coming their way. I thought something just happened, but we're going to watch this replay.
Yeah. Before we get to that, we'll see this as Boston Tigers trying to get past that back marker as fast as he can, getting that power down. Yeah. Oh, he squeezed him into Chapel and knocked out by that was Packer, I believe, for extra measure. Now I wonder what just happened there as we browse into the replay.
Yeah, we've got a full course yellow now for at least a bit of time. The driver's going to be getting a little bit of a break. This is the Huracan of Evan heading around the loop at this point. Was it another incident involving Vossi and Luke Packer here?
No,
it looks
Packer.
like, yeah, just really going very, very slow on the racing line, and I don't really know if there was much time there for Luke Packer to react, but that's going to be a lot of damage for Luke Packer. They're going to be coming into the pits to try to get some of that repaired. That car probably undrivable at this point.
If I was Luke Packer, I'd be absolutely frustrated as we see Swingley getting the launch on Kagakiyo. Kagakiyo trying to get the move done, but not quite, as I was saying. Yeah, as I was saying, no wait, we have a battle between Jintech and Nicholas Zahn, and I think that's sorted so far. But Nicholas Zahn handling Magus and Beckes better. They could have a better exit into Stowe as the Lexus puts down the power, getting on the slipstream of that Porsche, who is very much vulnerable in that 4-cylinder, I believe 6. I don't know my Porsche. But oh my goodness, Nicholas Zahn taking the grass, going down the inside. Can he get the move done? They bang wheels a bit, but that is Zahn ahead of Yapjin Tech. That was really close.
Yeah, the two of them not wanting to give each other any space at all on there, and we've definitely seen a lot of like, it's definitely aggressive driving, but to me, it's also really good driving here from Yapjin Tech. Has just done a really, really good job just controlling the space around them and just limiting it. It has really good awareness of that car and is just sort of giving exactly as much space as they need to give. And just, through all of these corners, all these battles that we've seen from them, there's obviously a little bit of door banging that you're going to get from racing. As we see maybe a little bit of door banging here. It might be 3 wide, just temporarily, maybe a little bit there from the Lexus behind, but that's going to be Nicholas on trying to get up in front of both of these silvers safely. This is not for any sort of points for it's for points for Nicholas Zahn because they're trying to chase down Vossi still, but definitely for the 2 silvers, they don't want to get too caught up in these. And there's another pro battle happening right behind them as well. So just a complete, 3 duels right in a row with each other, and they're all just trying to jockey for as much position as they can. And Christian Clifford here not really benefiting from it at all. They had quite a slow lap last time around, and in fact a lot of folks having really slow laps because of the full course yellow. But definitely they've been losing quite a bit of time with this happening in front of them.
We have 2 wide into Magus and Beckes as we see Jesper Swingley and Blake Wolf-Kyo going across, but going single file once more. That is Yapjin Tech going offline, and that could be the move for Christian Clifford as he goes down the inside of Chapel Corner, putting the power down in that Mercedes car. And there is Nicholas Zahn and Luke Packer getting past each other, I believe. And that is Clifford inside the marbles. Can he get that move done? That's going to be very risky to get the maneuver, but Christian Clifford with the move ahead of Yapjin Tech, and I believe that is Nicholas Zahn ahead of Luke Packer with Blade Wolf Kagakiyo going down the inside. but not quite. Oh my god, I'm about to lose my breath at this point from these guys going argy-bargy against each other.
Here, take a breath, I got it. Definitely, yeah, we were seeing just the defending there from Yapshin as well. It's really, really hard to sort of like get around the outside. They were trying that sort of, they saw that just around the outside wasn't working that time, so they tried that over-under. That's going to be Blade Wolf down the inside of Luke Packer here. These cars obviously not in the same class, but they are still really, really aggressively fighting each other because Blade Wolf just wants to try to get as far up in the top 10 as they can. You try asking racers not to race. I've said it before on this broadcast, and I will say it again. I don't really care what class you're in. If you want to race and you think that you got it against somebody else, then you should absolutely go for it. That's Christian Clipper going for it down the inside of both of these cars. That is 2 positions in 1 quarter there for Christian Clipper, and I think Yapshin is going to be able to pick up the pieces potentially here with Jesper Swingley there still holding them behind though. Ultimately the gap didn't open up for them. That's going to be a huge boon for Christian Clipper in this 3-car fight here. As they're just trying to get down the inside now. And Luke Packer is, I think, going to let Jesper through at this point. Doesn't want to lose too much time to Yapshin Tech, though, behind, who is still just sort of waiting in the wings, lurking in the background, seeing how this is going to happen. That's a really late braking there, and that was a really, really great opportunistic move there from Yapshin Tech. Just seeing that Luke was braking early with that car in front and just trying to keep it out of the rear of that car, and Yap braking later and ultimately making it work. That was really awesome.
That was an absolute send from Christian Clipper. 2 birds, 1 stone. And I do want to point out, Luke Packer nursing a lot of heavy damage on the front end due to that incident with that back marker. And they are just, I believe they're, if I was in the shoes, I'd be absolutely fuming right now, you know, because you had it all in control until that moment, and now you're just dropping like a stone, and that's just really heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, you know, and you know, incidents tend to compound on each other, especially, you know, when the racing is this close. It's almost like sort of kart racing dynamics in a way, where if you know, everybody's racing so close to each other, if you lose 1 position, it usually means that you're losing 2 or 3, or, you know, you just, you know, sort of everybody behind you is taking the opportunity to follow the other car up in front, and it's very much more of a sort of pack style of racing versus just, you know, individual duels like we've been seeing. You need to pull together as a group, but also when you do, you can sort of start to get tangled up in each other, and that's what we're starting to see here. And Yapshin Tech has that ability to just, you know, with the racecraft, be able to read when those little opportunities are starting to open up, when they're able to sort of move forward in the pack without costing themselves too much time. And it's just been a really, really intelligent drive here from Yapshin Tech as we are in the final 4 minutes of racing here, probably about 3 laps to go.
Yeah, there was so much action. I lost track of time as Parker Olsen, the next driver in line to try and get past Luke Packer as they head off into Cops. Olsen trying to bide his time into Magus and Beckett. I think he is. Yes, he is biding his time around the section. He knows that the real overtaking section is at Stowe Corner, so he has to take those corners ever so carefully and to get that great exit into the hangar straight. But Luke Packer also has a slipstream, I believe, from a car ahead of him. I believe that is, nope, that is a back marker, and that is Olsen down the inside of Stowe Corner. Can he get the move done? And yes, that is Parker Olsen through on Luke Packer.
I think that damage is really hampering Luke Packer's ability to actually turn into corners at this point. I think that's mostly what that was. But definitely a really, really good send there from Parker Olsen, being able to get the car stopped. And outside chance at the top 10, I think at this point it might be really, really tall order. There's 3.7 seconds from here to Yapshin Tech up in P10, who is currently in the fight for P9 with Jasper. So depending on how hard they fight, it could potentially put Parker Olsen into the mix there for those positions. But aside from that, or another major mistake, I think that's pretty much going to be the peak of where they're going to be able to finish in this one.
Yeah, and as we look over to Christian Clipper versus Paliku'i, the Minister of Defense of today versus the Minister of Defense of all time. This is going to be a really intense battle between the Gold Class driver and Silver Class driver. Keep in mind, they do not have to battle each other because ultimately they are going to be in the same position if they pass each other in their own class. But for overall honors, I would absolutely fight for it, as we see Blade Wolf and Chris going at it continuously, and we see the same case for Yapjin Tech and Jesper Swingley.
Yeah, there's still a chance at this position at this point. There's still a chance at P8 at this point for Yapjin Tech, and also for that extra position in gold. But they are going to have to clear Jasper pretty quickly here, and I have to imagine that they're going to fight pretty hard for it. So it's going to have to be another little bit of magic being worked here by Yapjin Tech. Assuming that those two don't fight up in front even more, which it does look like they're going to do, as they're going to go side by side into the Vale chicane. Really, really late braking there from Christian Clippard. The outside becomes the inside for the second part of that chicane, and that's a textbook overtake in that particular corner. But is Blade Wolf going to be able to come back? I think they are. We're heading down into, what is this, Abbey corner here. It's really, really high speed, so it's going to have to be really brave, but that's definitely going to be Christian.
Both
of them off the road.
That is Swingley and Blade Wolf Kagekio coming together. I saw it in my cameras. That was good. That was Swingley trying to get past Kagekio as they got hampered by, I believe, Chris Clifford from that defensive driving. Let's look at the replay once again. And yes, that is going to be Christian Clifford and Blade Wolf Kagekio dueling each other. Clifford trying to squeeze Kagekio into the inside, slows it down successfully, but as Swingley trying to go through, but that is a bit of oversteer, and unfortunately takes out Kagekio in the process.
Right, man, neither is on the final lap.
I almost feel like Swingley might have just completely missed their braking point there. Either that or both of them were going really, really slowly up in front because they were, going through that corner side by side. They had to try to give each other room, so it was going to be, really, really slow through there for them, and the speed difference ended up being too much, and there was too much for Swingley to be able to react there. Wolfen going down the inside here of JPEG Fox. These two have been fighting basically since the beginning of this race. Wolfen trying to hang it around the outside at this point, trying to get the best exit onto the straight as they can, but that's ultimately going to be a pretty solid defense there from JPEG. Might be able to come back at them for this, and in fact it looks like they're going to have a pretty good run here down the hanger straight. It might be enough to be able to get that overlap. They're going to go for it just a little bit, and that's a pretty easy defense there from JPEG, able to just stick out in front.
Yeah, and I believe that Tabiner is on their final section, so this will be the end of the race as we see Tabiner breaking into Brooklands, into Luffield. It has been an absolutely dominant performance from Daniel Tabiner in that Lamborghini. Starting from lap 1, they have been P1, and down the final corner, Daniel Tabiner starts off the new year with a P1 in a new era with Racing Team Echo.
Yeah, they really showed up today and made a statement. We have quite a few that are in the mix for top positions. As Luke Packer is still in the mix, maybe for P10 here from Blade Wolf. This is not for position, of course, but it is for pride. Luke Packer's had a really, really tough race in this one. Started towards the front of the field, and just those couple of incidents with backmarkers really unraveling it for them. But they do still have a chance to finish in P10 here. It's not going to be enough down the main straight here, so they're going to have to go for something really, really unconventional at this point in the race, or hope for a mistake from Blade Wolf. But that looks like it is going to be it for them. So your podium at Silverstone, Daniel Taverner up in P1. Sash Dragon holding on to P2. Made it about a pretty good gap down to Luis Adelin, rounding out the podium there in P3. So it's at least a 1-3 for what started as a 1-2 for Team Racing Echo here, and their other driver, Cowlin Moody, finishing where they started in P4. So some really good overall positions here for Team Echo. Unfortunate.
According to According to what we're hearing, Snowdog has ran out of fuel somewhere. Where is that number 67 car? I don't think they're on my track map. They went to the back into the pits, but that's just unfortunate. Running out of fuel on the last lap, they probably underestimated how many laps Taberner can take this car, and yeah, that is just really unfortunate. As we see Ravenloft crossing the line, grounding off our AM class podium. But yes, that is Label Kady for the lead. But for our, yeah, that is Sif Harvey, the last car to cross the line. And to wrap up this race, that is for the pro class. I believe it's Luis Adeline with a huge margin compared to Luke Packer. In the gold class, we have Daniel Taberner, Sauce Dragon, and Caleb Mooney. In the silver class, we have Bladewolf Kagakia winning that despite that late lap incident with Jester Swingley, who finishes P2. And Auras Volpez with an insane recovery drive into P3. And for our AM class podium, we have Luis Gordon, JPEG, Fox, and Wolf, and Ravenloft. And I believe Taberner is going to do some donuts here. Will he give us a smoke show here?
Is the race still going?
There we go. The race, yeah, the race has
there it
ended.
goes.
And yes, that is the race over. And that is Team Echo doing a parade lap.
Oh,
man,
what a race.
I know. Round 1 never disappoints. And it's never disappoint once again. My goodness.
Yeah, great day of racing today. We saw a lot of really clean battles, a lot of less clean battles, but I think mostly everybody towards the top, did a really good job behaving themselves. Some heartbreak for some of the other folks in this one who will definitely have some really strong pace in other rounds of this series, but at least for now are going to have to settle for where they ended up. And definitely, I think we can expect some better performances from the likes of Luke Packer, who was sort of towards the top of the timing tables today. Did also, could be just a tiny bit of bias, but I did want to shout out Vossi, who, to me, I feel like might be, is up there in the conversation for my driver of the day, if not Yapshin Tech as well. But up 7 positions from where they started, they ended up in P5 in this one, so a really fantastic drive from them from P12.
Honestly, I am torn. I have no idea who to pick as my driver today. I think it's gotta be Christian Clippard for that excellent defense and those amazing moves. I mean, he's got it nailed. I do also want to shout out George Sarami for that first half of the race. Unfortunately, hampered by that stop-go penalty for, I believe, speeding in the pit lane. But man, Sarami also put up a show for us right there.
Absolutely, and I am happy for it. That was some of the most fun I've had here in a while. As we are rounding out tonight's festivities, we do want to remind you as well, if you missed it towards the beginning of our broadcast today, huge news for Simufur. We have a shop now where you can buy all sorts of wonderful merch from our store with Simufur branding. That will be the first 10 orders on that one. The shop is live right now. And the first 10 orders on that will get 10% off their entire cart. So make sure to do that. And where are we heading next for this series? Kyalami. Oh gosh, it's going to be fun. I miss Kyalami. It's been a while since we've had that on the calendar, actually.
Kyalami, excellent track. I should know, because that was where I got my one and only pole position here in Silverstone GT3, which, well, in the race was unfortunate, but I'll gladly take that pole position. Anyways, that's not the only race we have next weekend, because we do have, while it's not broadcasted, we have streamers streaming this race. We have the Simufur What If Once series. Now, I did say before, these are F3000 cars around racetracks that either did not make the cut to Formula 1, for example, Hanoi, which we are going to next week, or tracks that did not last long in the calendar, which I believe are the likes of I believe we do. That is, yeah, that is tracks like Korea. Anyways, that should wrap up what we have so far. Once again, I am Suzuka alongside Kady, and we would like to thank you for your viewership. See you next week.
Hi, good night. See you next time.